It's 7:15 a.m. A Japanese toddler is told calmly that breakfast is in 5 minutes. No countdown, no bribery, no iPad. 5 minutes later, he sits down and eats. Now, picture the same 5 minutes in an average Western home. Negotiation, a reward chart, maybe a meltdown over the wrong color cup. I spent the last few weeks digging into why Japanese mornings look so different, and it's not because Japanese kids are born calmer. It's because of 3 specific things their mothers do before 8 a.m. that most of us were never taught. Stick with me, because habit number 2 is the one that surprised me the most, and habit number 3 is the one I'm still trying to fix in my own house. Quick context on why mornings matter so much. A child's morning routine is basically a daily rehearsal of self-regulation. Every transition, wake up, get dressed, eat, leave the house, is a tiny test of whether a kid can move from one state to another without falling apart. Do that rehearsal the same way, calmly, every single day, and the brain starts to treat the routine as safe and predictable. Do it differently every day, different threats, different bribes, different chaos, and the brain never gets to relax into it. In this video, I'm walking you through 3 things Japanese mothers do almost every single morning, what the research says about why they work, and one habit, I'll be honest, is genuinely hard to pull off if you didn't grow up with it. By the end, you'll have something you can try tomorrow morning, not in 6 months. Here's the first thing you'll notice if you watch a Japanese household at 7 a.m. The mother isn't asking questions, she's describing. Now we put on socks, now the shirt, next is breakfast. No, do you want to get dressed now? No, can you please put your shoes on? Just a calm narration of what's happening next, delivered the same way every day. This connects to something developmental psychologists call scaffolding, giving a child just enough structure that they can predict what comes next, without taking away their ability to do it themselves. The Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky described this decades ago, and it's still one of the most cited frameworks in early childhood development. Why does this matter for tantrums specifically? A lot of morning meltdowns aren't really about the sock or the shirt. They're about a child being asked to make a decision they're not equipped to make yet. Do you want to? When what they actually need is a clear, predictable sequence they can lean into.
Western parenting culture leans heavily on offering choices because we associate choice with autonomy. And choice does matter, but only once a routine is already secure. Offering 5 choices during an unpredictable, rushed morning isn't autonomy. It's just more uncertainty stacked onto a small brain that's already overwhelmed. So the first habit isn't really about Japan specifically. It's about narration over negotiation. Tell, don't ask during the parts of the morning that are non-negotiable anyway. Here's the second pattern, and it's the one that genuinely surprised me when I looked into it. Japanese morning routines are often almost identical, day after day, down to the order of tasks. Wake up, fold the futon, wash face, get dressed, eat, brush teeth, shoes on, leave. Same order, every day, including weekends in a lot of households. This sounds boring. It is boring, on purpose. There's a well-documented concept in child psychology around predictability reducing cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. When a child knows exactly what's coming next, their nervous system doesn't have to stay on alert. When the order changes constantly, breakfast before getting dressed one day, after the next, sometimes skipped for time, the child's brain has to keep recalculating what morning even means. Compare that to a lot of Western mornings, where the routine bends every day around the parent's schedule. Today we're rushing, so teeth brushing gets skipped. Tomorrow there's time, so there's a cartoon before breakfast. It feels flexible and kind in the moment. But to a 3-year-old's brain, flexible looks a lot like unpredictable, and unpredictable is exactly what triggers a meltdown. This is also, by the way, the actual function of those famous Japanese preschool routines you've probably seen. Kids quietly putting away their own shoes, folding their own mats, lining up without being told twice. It's not that Japanese kids are naturally more obedient, it's that the steps never change, so the behavior eventually runs on autopilot, instead of requiring willpower every single time. If you want one thing to take from this video, it's this. A boring, identical morning sequence is doing more emotional regulation work than almost any toy or technique you could buy. Now, the next habit is the one I find hardest to actually practice myself, because it asks parents to do the opposite of what feels protective. I'll tell you what it is in a second, but first, if routines and consistency are something you're trying to build in your own house, hit subscribe now, because next week's video is the bedtime version of this exact list, and it's even harder to pull off than mornings. Here's the one I find hard. In a lot of Japanese households, when a toddler is struggling to button a coat or pour their own water, the mother doesn't immediately step in. She waits, sometimes uncomfortably long by Western standards. This isn't neglect and it isn't coldness.
It's a deliberate practice rooted in a value that shows up across a lot of Japanese early childhood philosophy. A young child given a small, real task and the room to struggle with it builds something that being rescued never builds. Confidence that comes from "I did this," not from "someone fixed this for me." There's solid developmental research behind this general idea, even outside Japan. Psychologists who study what's called frustration tolerance have found that children who get some practice tolerating small, manageable frustrations, a stuck zipper, a dropped spoon, develop better emotional regulation than children who are rescued from every struggle immediately. The skill of staying calm while struggling has to actually be practiced. It can't be explained to a toddler in words.
Here's why this connects directly to tantrums. A lot of morning meltdowns happen the moment a child fails at something small. The shirt is inside out, the shoe is on the wrong foot, and a parent rushes in to fix it instantly. The rescue feels kind, but it also teaches very efficiently that frustration equals "someone else solves this for me." Repeat that enough mornings in a row, and frustration becomes something the child has no tools for at all because they've never had to develop any. I'll be honest, this is genuinely hard to do. Watching a 2-year-old struggle with a zipper for 90 seconds while you're trying to leave the house feels almost unbearable. Every instinct says step in. But that 90 seconds of struggle, done calmly and without rescue, might be doing more for that child's long-term emotional regulation than almost anything else in the routine. So, to recap, 3 things, almost none of which cost money or require special tools. Narrate the steps instead of negotiating them. Keep the sequence identical every single day, even when it's boring, and let small struggles actually happen instead of rescuing on instinct. None of this means Japanese parenting is better across the board, or that Western parenting is doing it wrong. Different cultures optimize for different things, and there's real debate among researchers about how directly these patterns translate across cultures. But the underlying mechanism, predictability and small, tolerable frustration, building emotional regulation, holds up regardless of where you live. If you try even one of these tomorrow morning, let me know in the comments which one you picked and how it went. And if this kind of comparison is useful to you, subscribe, because next week I'm covering what Japanese families do differently at bedtime, and that list is, if anything, even tougher to follow than this one. See you in the next video.